Hey guys, welcome back to Thorough Capping. It's Dave. I'm coming at you with my first set of races using the tri race model. Other than the couple test races that I did in my first video, but that was really meant to introduce the model to you and to really show you where the data is coming from and why I call it the tri race model. I'm using 3 races to pull the matrix figures from. And then everything after that is the same. It's I cut down the qualitative factors to just class droppers, race moves, and next out winners or key races. And then we have our TC ratings. TC rating 1 is not taking into account qualitative points, and TC2 is taking in consideration the qualitative points. And here's what we have. I have races 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9 from Belmont at the Big A tomorrow. And it's supposed to be rainy, so I did stay away from the turf races. I stuck with the races that were on the main track, and hopefully, there's not a whole lot of scratches. I don't know how much rain is supposed to come there, but it's supposed to be rainy all day around this part of the country, the East Coast, at least the Northeast. So let's take a look here at race number 2. Race number 2, when I just look at the matrix factors, without taking into consideration any type of rating, the colors point me to the 10 horse, the 4 horse, the 1 horse, and the 5 horse. And I threw the 5 in there ahead of the 1 simply because he is a standout. Not a standout, but he is my top final fraction horse. And as I mentioned many times, to bet the win, I'm looking for value anyway. So it doesn't matter whether I have him 3rd or 4th. But at the same time, if I'm going to play exotics such as a 50-cent try, and I'm going to use 3 in the first leg, I want to include the horse with the top final fraction overall in his last race. So the one thing I did not pull from all 3 races was the final fraction. Okay, I may look at doing that in the future. Right now, I'm just pulling the final fraction off of the target race, the last race out. But I think it may be a good idea for me to add a couple more columns here eventually and pull the final fraction from the last out, the recent ability race, and the past ability race, and get an average of those 3. And in fact, I might do that if I look at any races for Sunday. I may put together another grid and add those extra columns to that. But right now, those that aren't familiar with what I was explaining with the recent ability and past ability, my last video before this one, I really did a good breakdown of what this grid is representing. But I have a 10-4-5-1, just as far as the eye test goes. And then when I look at the TC ratings off of just the matrix figures, I got a 10-4-1-8. And then over here, when I figure in the qualitative data, the 1 horse finishes on top with the highest TC rating, which is a 85.2. That'd be 1487. The 10 horse doesn't show up, so this should be interesting. The 10 horse is my target horse, and he's my ability horse. Well, the 8 horse is my ability horse, but at the same time, in the past ability, he had the highest rating, 81. But again, he is my target horse, and as I mentioned many times, I favor the target. And the last thing I would want to do is, even if he's not considered overall, when I look at a consensus here, if he's not considered my overall top, he's at least going to be in my top 4, especially if he's going to be at a price. Okay, race number 3. Race number 3, 9 runners. Again, just looking at where these horses are showing up in blue. I went with the target horse again, the 8 horse on top, even though we have the 1 horses on top of 3 categories here. We have the 8-1, the 9, who's the top final fraction, and then I threw the 6 in there. Over here, it's just the reverse. It's a 1-8, 6-9, based on top 4 ratings. Race number 6, you're going to see that the The numbers are a little out of order here because I did use the early past performances before they drew the post positions and didn't have any morning line odds or anything. And sometimes I like to do it that way because I don't like to be influenced at all by morning line. And so the only thing they had on here was the data that I needed and also the jockeys. But the 6 horse is my obvious top play here. Just looking at the grid, and the 8 horse is my second choice. Okay, top Briz average, also top final fraction, followed by the 7, and then I threw the 5 in there as the 4th. And then when I look over here and I go by ratings, it's actually the 6, 8, 1, 7. Okay, and the 1 gets in there because of the double move in the race last time out. So we have a 6, 8, 1, 7 in race 6. Race number 8, again, a couple horses out of order here, the 1 and the 1A. 7, 1, 3, 2. Based off the matrix side of the grid. No ratings taken into account. And then over here, it's an agreement with the both sides. We have a 7, 1, 2, 8. So the 3 horse is left out here when it comes to the ratings. And the 8 horse comes into play. And he is a class dropper. He's the only class dropper in that race. 7, 1, 3, 2, 7, 1, 2, 8. And then finally, the 9th, I have a 3, 1A, 4, and 2. I had to decide between the 2 and the 5. And again, I went with the horse with the top final fraction. And in the ratings themselves, the 2 horse doesn't show up. It's 3, 1A, 5, and 7. So the 4 doesn't show up here either. So it should be interesting. But at the same time, if you're looking and if I'm going to play 50-cent tries, you're probably going to see what my tendency is going to be. The 4 and the 10. Definitely on top. Maybe throw the 1 in there on top as well because of the 1 showing up here. So maybe a 1, 4, 10 on top over 1, 4, 5, 8, 10 over 1, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10. In the 3rd, we're in agreement here with the 1, 8, 1, 8. So it might be just a 1, 8 over 1, 6, 8, 9 over 1, 6, 8, 9, and maybe throw another one in there, the 4 or even the 7 as well. I don't want to leave one horse out. Again, anything you see in maroon are horses that I tossed that they didn't qualify for me. Here we have a 6, 8, 6, 8. So we might have a 6, 8 over 1, 5, 6, 7, 8 over 1, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, 1, 3, 2, 7, 1, 2, 8. So 1, 7 over 1, 2, 3, 7 over 1, 2, 3, 7, 8. And then maybe possibly throw the 9 in there. That would make it an $11 ticket. And then here we're in agreement with the 3 and the 1A. So they would be my top 2 over maybe 2, 4, 5, 7 in the 2nd and 3rd leg. All right, so that's it. I wanted to keep this short. And we'll see how the tri-race model does. And if it's starting to show some consistency, I will put this model into our TC grid download. And if you have the deluxe tutorial, you could just go and download the new set of grids, save it, make a copy. And if you don't have it, you can download the tutorial in the description below. You'll find a link for it. All right, until next time, thanks for tuning in.